Hi to everyone. It's really a pleasure today for me to be here with you, and especially with Jens Grueger, Partner and Director, Market Access and Pricing in Healthcare from Boston Consulting Group, and Girisha Fernando, CEO and founder of Lyfegen HealthTech. Because in those last decades, data completely reshaped healthcare. We see a growth of disinformation in terms of quantity, but also we are still exploring all the value that disinformation can contribute to the healthcare system. And so today we are here to talk about even the evolution of the registry in the value-based health era, and the value-based healthcare is actually a very strong, a very important view on about the evolution of the healthcare system. And so Jens, can you actually describe us and explain which are the role of the data and the registries and why they are so relevant in a value-based healthcare perspective?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for this. I mean, treatment registries are really the foundation for value-based healthcare. Value-based healthcare is about improving outcomes that matter to patients while at the same time lowering cost for the healthcare system. And the first thing that, of course, we need to understand is what is the outcome of the treatments that we are giving, and in particular, what is it in the real life situation and not in a clinical trial. This is what treatment registries help us to improve the outcome by making the data available for a patient when the patient is being treated, and by giving us information about what treatments work and what are the best solutions for these patients. And the beauty is, at the same time, this will lower the cost of the healthcare system, because on the one hand, we are able to reduce unnecessary procedures and treatments in health systems. So people call this reducing waste. And at the same time, if we are having better outcomes for patients, that also means that we are avoiding severe complications of the disease for patients. And that also allows us to reduce the cost. The question, of course, is how do we get to these registries? Very few countries have been able to achieve this. Some people say that Estonia, a small country in the Baltics, is probably most advanced for that, but it's a small country. How do we do that in larger countries? So that means, on the one hand, we need to make sure that we can connect the data in the healthcare system. And the second piece is we need to do that in an efficient way that doesn't create a lot of burden to the healthcare system, but most importantly also in a secure way, because these are sensitive data and we want to use the data when we need them, but we want to avoid that people are abusing the data. So I think this is why having better treatment registries and having these treatment registries in a secure and efficient way is absolutely important for improving value-based healthcare systems.
But Jens, in your perspective, how are the countries, especially the Western countries, able to get all this value and to concretize the approach that you were describing?
You can start from different perspective for that. I think Italy started already in 2006 to put treatment registry in place to better understand the use of expensive new medicines that were coming into the market. And it allowed us to know what are the kinds of patients where these medicines are being used, ensuring that the right patients are getting this. It showed us what the outcomes were, and it allowed, I find, the Italian healthcare system to ensure that they were only paying for these medicines when they were really delivering the benefits to patients that we were expecting. And when they were not working, there was no payment for it. That's an important element for that. Other countries have tried to solve this across the board. That's, of course, a much bigger task. If you say, I want to digitize the whole healthcare system, then there are very difficult things. I mean, we have a lot of data in hospitals. We have a lot of data in physician practices. How do we connect these data? How do these kind of systems talk to each other in a secure way? The UK has invested a lot of money for that. They haven't yet succeeded. We see it in the US in pockets for oncology treatment, for example, as one important area of disease in the healthcare system. There are now structured databases with high quality that are available for that. But at the moment, I don't think any healthcare system has really got a universal health infrastructure to enable value-based healthcare.
Thank you, Jens. And Girisha, you served for many years in top position in multinational companies, especially in market access, with a strong and worldwide experience. And then you decide to found Lyfegen. Why did you decide to make this change, and which is the vision behind your decision?
Grazie mille, Ludovico. And first of all, thank you very much for having me. Buongiorno a tutti. And, Lyfegen believes in a world where there's equitable access to healthcare. And especially with the introduction and now really a huge flow of medical innovations such as cell and gene therapies, we want to see a world in which patients have access to these medical innovations at the right time in a really sustainable healthcare environment. So our vision is to save the life of patients by helping them to receive these healthcare treatments they really desperately need. So for that reason, for that purpose, we have developed an intelligent cloud software. And this cloud software uses data and intelligent algorithms to enable healthcare payers, such as the IFA and pharmaceutical companies, to finally implement and scale value-based healthcare agreements at scale.
And actually, how is your solution applied, used?
So our cloud-based software really digitalizes these type of value-based or managed entry agreements, which have really a component to them which defines success, outcomes, and other types of measures. And it receives data from disease registries, from electronic health records, or other data sources, and uses intelligent algorithms to assess the outcomes and therefore also the prices that result from these outcomes. So as a result, the Lyfegen platform really provides advanced insights and transparency on product performance, on outcomes, and on costs. It can run thousands of value-based agreements at the same time. And here comes the important part, without any effort for our healthcare payer and pharma customers. So really being to efficiently implement value-based agreements, removing the barriers of administrative efforts, and of course, including transparency.
Lyfegen solution is actually used by some of the most important pharmaceutical companies in several countries. Which are the situation from your perspective where we are expressing the highest value through the Lyfegen solution?
Sure. And I'd like to also add to that, it's also really a solution for healthcare systems and healthcare payers as well as providers, because as we heard before from Jens, one of the most difficult aspects to implement value-based healthcare and agreements is, of course, the burden that comes with it for healthcare providers, especially, and payers. So our solution is really also designed to help these entities, as well as, of course, pharma, to implement these type of agreements. Now, one of the main value propositions that we can bring to the table is to understand what kind of agreements are suitable for what kind of products, how do you define value and how do you define outcomes, and which can be really pragmatically applied in the healthcare system for these products. The second aspect with that knowledge comes, of course, the ease at which these entities can implement these type of agreements. The last thing you want is, of course, to agree on certain prices where value is defined and not being then really able to implement these type of agreements. So what we stand for is, what you can't measure, you cannot improve. And we turn around and say, measure it so you can improve it, and we'll help you do it in a very efficient and scalable way.
Thanks, Girisha. And one last question for Jens. Jens, how do you think we should work in every country to remove the barrier that allow us, that block us to get all the opportunities of value-based care? Because especially in several countries, even in Italy, there are some barriers that are avoiding us to have a wider vision, a wider understanding of the benefit of some treatment, of some patient journey. How do we have to work pragmatically?
So the first thing is that I think we all have to have an agreement on what we want to achieve with the healthcare system. I mean, we know that the healthcare system is important. We all want to benefit from it. It's also expensive, and we are very concerned whether we can pay for our premiums in the future. So we need to get an efficient healthcare system that we can all work with, and that is available to everybody, independent where we are. And then we have to explain to people why it is important that we also collect the data in here. I mean, there are some very valid concerns about data being made available here, but we also have very secure mechanisms now to ensure that the data is safely collected and stored, but it's also available when it is needed. It doesn't help if we collect the data and then there is an incident for the patient, and the patient has to see the doctor, has to be admitted to the hospital, and then the data is not available. I think when I looked at the solution that Lyfegen has been developing, that is the important aspect in there, that they have found an efficient and secure way to collect, store, and make this data available when it is needed. And I think that's what people need to understand. I mean, we've been through, or we are still in the pandemic. We have seen how important data is for everything that we do. We've also seen that there are some very important concerns that people have about the data. So that's where we all have to work together, from the policy side, from the provider side, from the industry side, to explain what are the benefits when we do these things, and how do we ensure that all of these security aspects are also maintained and the data is used in the right way.
Thanks, Jens. Even because, in my humble opinion, the value-based care should be even the right way to understand the value of healthcare, especially in the Western countries, because we have an issue about the social contract that was broken in the last century, and we need to shape a new social contract, and probably the healthcare is the most important pillars in the future social contract.
I definitely agree with that,
Totally
and
agree.
it's something that we want to maintain. I think that's something which we want to ensure that is happening in our local communities at a country level, at a global level. We have seen that access to healthcare is still an issue through the pandemic. Not everybody had the same access to diagnostic. Not everybody was affected by COVID in the same way. These are things which we want to improve. It's a very high good for us. And I think data is an important element, and it's good that we are going to have the data. My expectation is that as a consequence, one of the few positive things that have come out of the data is that we have dramatically increased digitalization in healthcare, whether it comes to physician-patient interactions. I mean, they are using Zoom and other things the same way that we are speaking to each other today, and that we see kind of having information about the pandemic, having information about what works in the pandemic is very important, and then we can build a healthcare system that rewards the good outcomes. I think that was what Girisha was speaking about, that in the end you want to adjust the payment with the value that different procedures and therapeutics are delivering to patients.
Thanks. Girisha, do you want to add something? Even because I think that about 5 or 10 years ago, there was Eric Topol used a nice expression that medicine and biology are dead sciences, and then they are reverting as information sciences. And it seems that the vision you are discussing about is that one.
No, absolutely. I think, you know, we're seeing this in so many industries where data has allowed us to create new innovations, new business models, and also customer-centric services, and really improving, you know, a customer experience. And also, you know, with our healthcare system, we see that we can improve the way we treat patients, give them access to medicines, but also give them the access to the correct and right medicines, right? So if we think about, you know, a specific example where individuals don't receive a CAR T treatment until only later, until all the other treatments fail, where we incur costs, you know, in this first customer or patient journey, instead of trying to give them access as soon as possible, because the risk of treatment failure is covered, right? So these are what we're trying to adjust, is to say, when can we give access to the right treatments to the right patients, with and not just driven by a cost factor, right? So where it makes sense, where they create value, and if they don't create value, then, you know, we create efficiency with a value-based system where you know, the costs are not fully incurred or not not needed to be fully paid because the value has not been created. So this is what we want to work towards as a company.
Thanks to you too. It was a very, very interesting discussion, and I believe it was very important today. It is very important today to discuss about this topic, especially in Italy. It was really a pleasure, and I hope to get back to have the opportunity to discuss soon to you back about these topics.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.